The deadlift is an exercise that's often misunderstood. It's seen as a movement that is scary or only used by somebody this big or even this big. But the deadlift is actually a really powerful movement with a lot of key benefits, and it can have great carryover into our day-to-day lives. Deadlifts help us build a stronger back, stronger legs and a stronger core to support us in our everyday life. They incorporate big muscle groups and therefore we expend a lot of energy when we do them. And most importantly, deadlifts protect us from injury down the track when we go to do other exercises or just movements in real life. The mechanics of the deadlift are actually pretty straightforward. The goal is to use our legs to drive the weight up, and then we squeeze our glutes to push our hips forward. We then push our glutes back, which allows a strong hinge at the hip, and then we bend our knees at the bottom of the movement to connect the bar to the ground. It's really important to remember that while we're performing the deadlift, we're keeping a nice strong core, a nice straight back, we're looking forward and trying to roll our shoulders back. Okay, imagine we're trying to tuck our shoulder blades into our back pockets and we're pushing our chest forward. Technique is king. It's really important that if we aren't used to deadlifting or picking heavy objects up off the ground, that we actually use the right steps to get to that point. So I'm going to demonstrate 3 different exercises, a progression sequence to get you from not deadlifting to deadlifting well. The hip hinge is probably the most important component of the deadlift to get comfortable and familiar with. The hip hinge is simply a matter of pushing the glutes back, bending at the hip, all whilst keeping the back straight and the knees fixed. The glutes to wall drill can be a great way to get familiar with the hinge, understand your balance, and get that external feedback from the wall. You want to stand around about a foot's length away from the wall and use your hands as a bit of a counterbalance. The next movement in our sequence is the kettlebell deadlift. The reason we transition to the kettlebell before the barbell is the kettlebell gives us a little bit more movement and flexibility, and we're not as restricted as we are with the barbell. With this movement, we're really trying to still perform that same hinge and squat, keeping a nice straight, strong back and core, and really emphasizing a prominent chest and pulled back upper back. The final step is to transition into our barbell deadlift. There are 2 types of barbell deadlifts, our conventional, which was the first one I showed you, and this variation called the sumo deadlift. You might find that starting with the sumo deadlift that I'm showing now is a better suit and more comfortable, given that the kettlebell deadlift is basically the same movement pattern as this, but try both and see how you feel. So the moral of the story is deadlifting isn't bad, it's actually a fantastic movement to help repair us and protect us for the rest of our lives. If we aren't used to deadlifting yet, let's start working on the movement patterns that are required to get to the barbell. For example, let's start with the hip hinge, move into the kettlebell deadlift, and then into a barbell variation. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, happy deadlifting, stay safe, stay strong.